All right, I want you to forget everything you think you know about hard drives for a minute, because we're about to dive into something that honestly sounds like it's straight out of science fiction, but it's not. It's happening in labs right now, and it's a total reinvention of how we store information itself. Yeah, you heard that right. 1,000,000 times denser. Just let that number sink in. That is the incredible, almost unbelievable promise of these weird little microscopic things. But, to really get why we need such a crazy solution, you first have to understand the massive crisis our entire digital world is staring down. For decades, we've all lived by this one simple, beautiful rule. Computers get faster, they get smaller year after year. But that rule is breaking. We are slamming right into a wall, and this wall was built by the laws of physics. See, to cram more and more data into our phones and computers, we have to shrink the tiny magnetic bits that store all our ones and zeros. The problem is, we've made them so ridiculously small that now they're at risk from, well, just the random jiggle of heat. The atoms are just vibrating, and that thermal energy can literally spontaneously flip a bit, and poof, your data is just gone. That hard physical barrier, it's called the superparamagnetic limit, and it is a huge, huge problem. So here's the trade-off we're stuck with. On one hand, you've got the old way of doing things. Big, clunky magnetic domains. They work, they're reliable, but they take up a ton of space. On the other hand, if you just shrink them way down to get that density we want, they become super unstable. It feels like an impossible choice, right? What we really need is something that is both incredibly small and rock-solid stable. So how do you get around the laws of physics? Well, you don't beat them. You find a loophole. And scientists have found an absolutely beautiful one. They realized we shouldn't be thinking about just a magnetic direction, like north or south. We should be thinking about a magnetic structure, a texture, an unbreakable magnetic knot. And here it is. Meet this Skyrmion. It was named after a physicist, Tony Skyrm, and this thing is not just a bunch of atoms all pointing in the same direction. No, you have to picture it more like a tiny, self-sustaining whirlpool in a magnetic field. It's a stable pattern, this swirling vortex made up of the spins of countless atoms. And this is the perfect way to think about its superpower. I mean, think about it. If you have a knot in a rope, you can't just smooth it out, right? You have to physically, actively work to untie it. Well, the exact same principle applies here. The Skyrmion's twisted structure gives it what physicists have this great name for, topological protection. It means it's naturally stable against all that random heat and jostling that messes up our current tech. It's a knot that just wants to hold its shape. So how do you actually tie one of these microscopic knots? It's kind of like cooking at an atomic level. You start with a magnetic material, then you layer a heavy metal, like platinum, right on top. The way these two layers interact, it's this effect called DMI. It creates this fundamental tilt in all the magnetic spins. And that natural tilt is what forces the spins to just curl up into that stable vortex like Skyrmion. It basically ties itself. Okay, so we've got this tiny, ultra-stable magnetic knot. That's incredible physics for sure. But what does it actually do for us? Well, this is where things go from cool to completely revolutionary, and it all starts with how we store our data. Think about every hard drive you've ever used. There is a physical arm, a head that has to swing back and forth to find and read your files. It's a mechanical process, which means it's relatively slow and can break. While racetrack memory just completely flips that whole idea on its head. The Skyrmions, which are the bits of data, get pushed along a tiny nanowire, kind of like little cars on a highway, and they zip right past a stationary reader. Suddenly, there are no moving parts. It's way faster, way more durable, and so much more efficient. And when I say efficient, I really mean it. This is probably the most crucial point. Because Skyrmions are these self-contained little things, you can nudge them along with an unbelievably small amount of electricity. How small are we talking? Get this, about 100,000 times less current than what it takes to move a normal magnetic bit. That's not just an improvement, that's a complete game changer for power consumption. I mean, look at this. When you put them side by side, it's not even a contest. Skyrmions are way, way smaller. They're basically immune to the heat that kills traditional memory, and their power usage is almost nothing. This isn't just a step up, this is a whole different league of technology. But it gets even crazier, because this doesn't stop at just storage. Skyrmions can actually interact with each other in complex ways, which means we could use them to build computers that think more like a brain.
Instead of just rigid ones and zeros, they can behave like artificial synapses. That's absolutely perfect for the kind of fluid, parallel thinking that the future of AI is going to demand.
Okay, so 1,000,000 times more data storage, computers that mimic the brain. It all sounds amazing, but let's get real for a second. We're not there yet. Right now, this incredible technology is in a high-stakes race to get out of the physics lab and into the devices that we actually use every day. There are really two massive hurdles to clear. First, making these things perfectly stable at room temperature. We're getting there, but making them controllable and reliable inside a hot, real-world device is a huge engineering challenge. And second, you have to actually make these things. Creating these perfect atomic-level sandwiches of materials on an industrial scale is just unbelievably complex. Even the tiniest imperfection can mess everything up. So you might be asking, why are we pouring so much time and money into solving these problems? Well, here's why it really, truly matters. Right now, data centers, the backbone of the internet, are consuming up to 2% of all electricity on Earth, and that number is just going up. Skyrmion technology, with its ultra-low power needs, could slash the massive energy footprint of our digital world and actually make our hunger for data sustainable.
And that leads to the even bigger picture. The age of silicon and Moore's law is winding down. A whole new technological frontier is opening up. It's called spintronics, the science of using an electron's spin, not just its charge. And Skyrmions are pretty much the crown jewel of this new field. The nation that masters this isn't just going to build better hard drives. They're going to lead the entire next generation of computing. It's a new kind of arms race.
So there you have it. We've gone from a strange little quirk of particle physics all the way to a potential solution for our global data crisis. The Skyrmion is this amazing reminder that the next great leap forward might be hiding in a place we never even thought to look, inside the elegant, unbreakable twist of a microscopic knot. The question really isn't if this is going to change our world anymore. The question is, who's going to get there first?